Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Devil's Reign, and as we get into part 2, we'll find that things have escalated quite a bit, but also we get a few more details to why some of these villains have opted in to work for Mayor Fisk. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get your spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back in, we pick up where Tony had met up with Luke, Jessica, and Danny, with us seeing Tony going by their home after seeing that video of Luke's speech, which had apparently went viral or whatever. Which kinda has me thinking like Tony was just on TikTok while all of this was happening, and he's like, you know what, I probably should go get these guys. But with them swinging through and telling Jessica and Luke his plans as far as running for mayor, they then make their way to go meet up with Cap and the other heroes. But on their way, they then reach out to Danny Rand, who at this point in time is no longer the Iron Fist, which I believe has been a thing since the whole Moon Knight versus the Avengers event. But at this point, with everything going crazy and Mayor Fisk going after all the heroes, Danny just lets them know he's gonna head north, lay low, and just sit this whole thing out. But with Luke practically telling Danny that it doesn't matter if he's not Iron Fist because they have strength in numbers. But then mid-conversation, Crossbones then breaks through the door with the other Thunderbolt soldiers or police, and even though Danny Rand is not the Iron Fist at the moment, like, make no mistake, this guy is still one of your top fighters. Like, don't let the Netflix fool you. But even with Luke and the others hearing all this chaos on the other end of the phone, it's not like they can just rush over there and help Danny because he's 30 blocks away, and at this point Tony doesn't have a suit because his brownstone went into lockdown to keep his armors from being taken so that this whole thing doesn't turn into Dark Reign 2.0. Because imagine Wilson Fisk pulling a Norman Osborn and just going through Tony's armory and making his way to the big and tall section. Like, we don't want that to happen, and I think Tony has learned his lesson from Secret Invasion all the way to now. But then it's after this where we see Elektra Nachios drop in on Mayor Fisk, and as soon as she gets there, Fisk kind of teases her about her being the new Daredevil, letting her know that sneaking in there and trying to intimidate him, like, that's not gonna work with her not being a killer at this point in time. But just to catch you guys up a little bit about why Elektra is Daredevil right now, long story short, it's mainly because Elektra and Stick had discovered a book outside of Jericho which had thousands of years of information about the Hand, and it also included a way to stop the Hand for good, with it mentioning the Hand as the darkness and the Fist as the light. And if that means Daredevil's gonna become Iron Fist, who knows? But with Matt not necessarily trusting Elektra, she had then taken on the role as Daredevil while he was in prison to prove to him that she was more than just an assassin, and that if he agrees to help her, that she can be trusted. But even with her doing this, there's still a lot of things that she doesn't want Matt to know. And Mayor Fisk, much like he does for everyone else, he has a whole file on Elektra, and she knows if Matt gets wind of her other secrets, then this agreement she had made with him is gonna fall through. And when Fisk tells her that he gave her file to someone who wanted the challenge of facing the great Elektra, and right away she leaves from there to rush and meet this person, because with more people knowing her secret, then she's at risk of losing everything. But at this point, we catch up with the other heroes who've gotten together at this point and made their way to the Avengers mansion in order to go super low-key and operate out of the sub-basement. But when they get there, these kids are outside, and they're amazed, of course, because it's the Avengers, come on. But when one of these kids takes a picture of Tony, and Tony then tells him like, hey, I'll give each of you a stack if you delete that. And when Tony does this, these kids, they kind of low-key roast him. Like, $1,000? I thought you was rich. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Tony better than me, because I'd have gotten in an argument with these kids, because I'd have been like, oh, I'm sorry, what you wanted, some V-Bucks or something? Like, boy, as soon as I get my suits back, But in either case, it's a good thing that Luke Cage was there, because when Luke steps in, he lets the kids know that they're trying to stay low-key, and the Avengers are the only ones who can really stop what's going on. And from there, he just asked them to delete it, which again just shows us like the respect that the people have for Luke Cage. But also when this happens, we get a quick glimpse of what appears to be one of the children of Zebediah Kilgrave, who, like we'd seen before, had taken upon themselves to help Matthew Murdock when his identity was revealed to the world. And with this quick glimpse here, it has me thinking like, will they try and help Luke? And not just that, but will their involvement help or hurt in the big picture? But that's just something we'll have to keep our eye on moving forward. But then it's after this where we then run into what's pretty much a hostage situation at the Daily Bugle, to where the presence of Spider-Man has been requested. And like we've talked about a number of times before, this right here is Ben Reilly, who was recently hired by the Beyond Corporation to be Spider-Man, but with Peter still in the hospital after his fight with the UFOs, during this time around, Ben's been getting a lot of deep lessons on how much the world really needs Spider-Man. And it means a lot to Ben to really get this right during this time where Peter is completely out of the picture. But when he gets here, we pretty much have the case where Taskmaster has been sent by Wilson Fisk and oh yeah, Whiplash is here too. But essentially Mayor Fisk had sent Taskmaster here because his file on Spider-Man was incomplete, and we know how Mayor Fisk feels about having information on everyone. But from the information he has gathered, it tells Fisk that Spider-Man probably works at the Daily Bugle, and this is why he sent Taskmaster and Whiplash here to get the identity of Spider-Man and likely attempt to take him in. And with the way that this fight plays out, it's pretty crazy, because on one hand with Taskmaster making his move on him in these closed quarters, and it quickly puts Ben at a disadvantage, with him having fewer options, which on the flip side just increase Taskmaster's advantage because Tony Masters, his skill tree is already through the clouds when it comes to fighting in close quarters. And because of this, Ben realizes that he has to take care of the hostages quick by separating them from Whiplash. And for Whiplash, he's already a bit insecure, so it's pretty easy for Ben to kind of bait him out by pretty much letting him know that by standing all the way over there, he's gonna go down in history as the man who watched Spider-Man die. And when he gets Whiplash to come over, he then uses his new high-tech suit that he got from the Beyond Corporation, and he just charges up a KO for Whiplash. But with Ben doing this, the suit is taxed, like it's really messed up. And he tries to stall Taskmaster for a second so he can heal up before taking him on outside, but Taskmaster takes advantage of the condition that Spider-Man's in, and he puts the power inhibitor on him right away. And then he's like, oh, you want to take this outside? Don't mind if I do. And he just kicks Ben Reilly Spider-Man out the window. And when this happens, Ben nearly pretty much just dislocates his arm trying to web and slow down his fall, and it works well enough to save his life. But as soon as we see him land on top of a car, he's then just surrounded by a ton of Thunderbolt officers. But then after this, we then switch over to Sue and Reed Richards, who, like we had seen before Doc Ock, he had quickly snitched on them in order to get them out of the Baxter building so that he can get his hands on all of Reed's toys. And really quickly here, we see them get tested by a couple of other dudes, and Sue, she is not having that, but the two of them hold their own to where after that they're then taken by a couple of officers. But even with how this happens, in the way that they kind of look at each other and talk to each other, it very much seems like they got something up their sleeve. And if you think about it, like who's better than Reed Richards, even without powers, to one, probably figure out a way to get these collars off to where then Sue could just make the both of them invisible and they could just walk right out. But I'm sure we'll see what happens soon enough. And after this, we also get a brief moment of Elektra going to meet with this person who had also wanted to meet her at a location that was tied to one of her biggest secrets. And when this happens, we come to find out that it was Kraven the Hunter who had requested for Fisk to send him Elektra because Kraven desired that challenge. And then after this, we then go over to the Avengers in the sub-basement of the mansion. And it's here where they initially go over Tony's plan as far as him running against Fisk for mayor. And when the room just gives Tony this look, like he quickly gets on the defensive, and Tony lets them know, like, what else are we gonna do? Overthrow him? Like, this is the cleanest way to get it done. And when he says this, Miles just tells him like, hey, it's not that. We just don't think it should be you. Sorry. But when this happens, Luke steps forward and he says that he thinks it should be him. And he's right, because not only is he the one Avenger who like never wore a mask or had some crazy transformational dual identity, and I mean Jessica's never wore a mask either, but she admits that running for mayor is not really her cup of tea. But also with Luke, he admits that it's not something that he just really wants to do, but he understands that it makes the most sense. And when he puts his hand on Tony's shoulder, like he asks him like, hey man, we cool? Because at the end of the day, it's about beating Fisk. Like nobody's really trying to be mayor, right Tony? Tony? But Tony lets him know that Luke has his full support and he's gonna make sure that Luke has the funding that he needs to get this done. But even with Tony saying this, you can just look at his face and tell that he's heavy on the salt right now, because it's likely that he had other reasons why he wanted to be mayor. But then from here we go over to the City Hall sub-basement to where Otto Octavius is meeting with Mayor Fisk. And not only do we find that Zebediah Killgrave is alive, because I was worried, but it's here where we find that Otto Octavius has constructed a machine in order to use Killgrave's powers to coerce the people of New York, which was part of their agreement. But then also there's a moment here where Mayor Fisk tries to use his cane, which has like Zebediah's finger inside of it. But when he tries this, Otto's like, no sir, because he made sure that he had special neural blockers dealing with the Purple Man. And from here, Otto goes on his way with this portion of their agreement or their deal being fulfilled. But then it's here where we follow Otto Octavius, and it's here where we find that he truly believes that the plans of Wilson Fisk, that they're just way too small in the scope of what truly could be done here, because Otto believes that the true power, it lies in the laboratory of the mad scientist Reed Richards, which again is what Otto wanted out of his agreement with Mayor Fisk. But also with hearing this, we then see that Otto Octavius has used Reed Richards' interdimensional gate, which I'm pretty sure is the Forever Gate, but he uses it to bring in another Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider, which right away has me thinking of the new Fantastic Four, with this being the same roster except for Spider-Man. But with the scene, this is like a bit of a teaser for us getting to know what Doc Ock's plan is, which for the time being, he would only describe as superior. And I'm just gonna leave that there, because I refuse to enter the realm of speculation on that this early. So I'm gonna let you guys do that in the comments. And so now real quick, I wanna give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below, so we can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.